I love about King is that, our services have ran the gambit, that I believe. And so we have mentorship, brothers going into schools from middle school to high school, brothers, mentoring young kings outside of high school. We really want our young brothers to see that they are kings, and that they're not just, athletes, and that they're not just entertainers, but they are more than that. They are also scholars, innovators, and we hope to be a movement as different from an organization. A movement is it catches the heart pulse of society, of the community, and has waves of change.
We are live in the studio, Spiritual Connect Radio, with my two special co-hosts in here tonight. We are Above Average Black Men, and we're on, man. I'm assuming the Zoom is working.
Yeah, I mean, I turned it on.
I'm assuming. We try to do technical pieces. But again, man, welcome to Above Average Black Men. I got my two special guest hosts in there. You got me, CP Senior. You guys introduce yourselves again.
Yep, Chris Jr. here.
Devin Pender.
Yeah, and Above Average Black Man, man.
And tonight we're going to be talking about impact. And we got a very special guest calling tonight at 7:15. His name is Donal Cogdell, and he's from, I'm sporting the shirt.
Yeah.
I got my shirt on.
You got something different on tonight.
The King movement.
We didn't get a shirt. You see that? We didn't get the memo.
Well, no, because this is actually, he's going to talk about it. The King movement, as a lot of people don't know, it's a national organization started by Chris Broussard.
Mm-hmm.
There's people in this, all kind of folk that's involved in this. Like I attended a virtual workshop. They had Brian Dawkins on it. They had Ben Carson. I can't think of this guy's name. Brilliant guy from did a piece on financial literacy and workshops. So this is a national organization.
I'm excited to hear about it, learn a little bit about more of what they do. Like, definitely heard you talk about the different types of people that are connected with this organization, and just interested to learn more as to potentially, how can myself or others be a part of that.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah. Already trying to sign me up, but I need a T-shirt. Put that in my deal.
What we have launched. I am glad and proud to say I'm the president of the Philadelphia chapter, which we just launched. Myself and Isaac Jackson, who's not evidently he's not here tonight. He is the vice president. We have a couple guys who are going to be joining us. Eventually they're going to join the King movement. We got AJ Stone, who owns the radio station.
Okay.
There's a few people out there who I know you may be listening to piece who are going to join us. But Donal's going to get on. We can ask some questions. My vision of the King movement is to create an organization. It's a Christian organization. You don't have to be a Christian to get involved. I want to make that abundantly clear.
I saw that on the site. I did some research.
I want to make that abundantly clear.
Not to say I'm not affiliated with it.
But my vision of the King movement here in Philly, just have a place like the community of men where men can come together. They can come together, man. They can encourage each other. So like the discussions we have on here, and it's a safe place. It's a place where younger guys can come, man, and be mentored and be discipled. Without the pressures of the world, you got to be like me. You got to join a church. You got to be. I just want to create that environment that's Christ-like, because I want it to be non-judgmental. I want it to be that kind of space, man. But we want to be in community service. Like, I do the turkey drive. I do the Christmas drive. Somebody hit me up the other day, said, I got two pallets of canned goods. So I want to do more stuff like that. I want to adopt schools. I'm gonna know, brothers, we could do stuff in schools. So I just don't want to be in an organization. I want it to be a movement.
Right, yeah.
I want it to be a movement. And I think, when I heard about it first, I was like, well, I don't know. Because it was kind of like, there's a reason why I didn't join the frat when I was in college, kind of thing. No offense, Devin.
I was about to say that. Or other people.
It just wasn't for me. I had nothing against frat. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And then so they were telling me about it, because there's a process you have to go to become a part of it. But I love the concept. I love when I'm
in a way that kind of sounds like a fraternity, though, right?
It's
a process that you need to be a part of it. But that's the kind of sense of behind, fraternity is that brotherhood.
Yeah,
right. You probably don't necessarily. I don't know the mentorship. Do you feel like that was there in fraternity?
You want to give your
different mentorship.
Your friend a shout out, man, while we having this conversation.
Shout out my fraternity, Alpha Chi Rho. You know, it's a very diverse fraternity. I'll say that. But yeah,
You need to run those step shields down.
It's definitely a family, a sense of family, and you do get a lot of mentorship from older guys that went through the same thing you did, and that are, you know, doing successful in the way of life and things that you want to do too. So, yes, I will.
But I mean, it's changed, but the frats is always limited to people who went to college.
True.
Yeah,
Very true.
yeah, that is very
And-
true.
And frats can be sometimes a closed circle, because if you didn't go to my frat,
For sure.
you know, if you're not a part of my frat, I don't care how educated you are or whatever, you know. And the thing about the King movement is everybody's welcome.
Right.
Like, one of my sticking points were, when he first talking about it, was I wanted to make sure everybody was welcome. Like, you know, when I do my call to Community of Men, I got all kind of folk on that call. I got
Diverse
believers,
backgrounds,
and but everybody's home, everybody's welcome, everybody's talking and sharing, and I wanted to have that kind of environment. You know, when I run my fatherhood groups, guys are free, you know, to talk about real stuff, man. Like, you know, to talk about, well, man, maybe this is not going right in my relationship, or what about this, or man, I wish I would have learned this before because I'm making mistakes. That stuff guys are not going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what's great and interesting, and again, why I'm kind of intrigued by the King movement, sometimes people are maybe turned away from actually going to the church or being there.
You can say he's smiling as he said
You
it
know,
to me.
like, you gotta be careful with Daddy's here. But no, seriously. But
Yeah.
not to say, like, again, I believe in the principles and like I live my life like that. But sometimes, you know, you feel
I
like
was raised that. No, I'm on the
not even
I'm on
because of
the
that, but
I'm on
like
the
even
team.
in my
I'm on the
own
team.
life and experiences that, of
Yeah.
course I was
Yeah.
raised like
I'm on
that,
the
but
team.
you know, through my own adult experiences, I've gotten to, like, I believe in that myself. But again, like, sometimes, like, with the actual building of the church and some people who go there, you may experience or encounter or see some things that deter you
And I agree.
from being
And I-
there.
I
And
agree.
like, even with that, it makes you scared to have certain conversations. You know, we're human beings at the end of the day.
But that's why I like the King movement, and that's the kind of environment we're gonna be meeting at the Discovery Center. For my part, that's the kind of environment I want to have. I want a non-threatening environment that people can come in, you know, and feel comfortable, you know, and not feel like I gotta put them in the head like you gotta join the church tomorrow or you gotta be doing. No, just come fit in, come talk to people, learn, grow. Because I think if you create that environment, people are now compelled to do stuff. You know, people will say, but they'll do stuff that's in their wheelhouse. Like, you can't take somebody who is not good at talking, and you want to put them somewhere you got to talk to a bunch of people. You know what I mean? You got to find, but everybody can serve. Everybody can pass out turkeys. Some people may be good at gift wrapping. Everybody can do those things. So I think it's important that we have that environment for men. You know, just like we got above average black men. Well, how do we duplicate this? How do we get more people, especially now, man, with this crazy violence that's going on the street, man? You know, we need to equip men to talk to their sons, because a lot of these guys belong to somebody.
Right.
So I think for me, that's what attracted me about it. You know, I was talking to a couple people, Pastor Calvin, who's probably not on right now because he has some other stuff to do. You know, I still believe that we need that place. You know, because to your point, there's a lot of folk who've been wounded or hurt in church who won't go to church. You know, and to me, you know, the church is the building. I mean, the church is not the building, it's the people. And we have to get back to that principle. Because in the book of Acts, they went house to house. You know, they did. They went house to house. They didn't necessarily meet in the building. You know, and I think that's the problem. We've made church into the building, and we've created a bunch of rules and regulations and do's and don'ts, and that's not what it's about. You know, there should be freedom in Christ. You know, and I'll say this, and then we'll get moving. Hopefully, Donal's calling soon. I think one thing I liked about the King movement was, because sometimes in church, our goal is to just get folks saved, and then we turn them loose. You know, after they join the church, we turn them loose, man. There's no
Like, that's the goal.
Yeah,
It's
like,
like,
that's
how
the-
many people
yeah.
can we get signed up for church? How many bodies can we get saved and lives for Christ? And then it's like, once they hear,
I want to create that place,
when
man.
they get those ties.
I want to create that place where they see Christ in action, where they see the love of Christ. And when you see something, then you're compelled to make a decision.
Right.
You know, and so that's what I want to do, man. I think, and we're gonna do fun stuff too, man. You know, hopefully we get somebody from the Sixers involved, man. We'll do some games. We'll do different things for fun, man.
Yeah,
But
I'm just interested to hear, I guess, in the mentor opportunities, you know, because there's so many areas in which, I mean, we all probably could use some mentorship. But I know for me personally, you know, business maybe is something that I would be interested in getting into. I do public speaking, so maybe if there's opportunities to network and like enhance those skills. But then again, from another mentorship perspective, he looked at me. He's like, "But I do that."
No, I looked at you like I looked at you like I'll put you to work.
You could get that for free.
I'll put you to work. Nah, I just think we need to duplicate ourselves. I think this is great. And Justin comes on here is great, but we're all family.
Yes.
How do we get other people involved? How do we help that person who may not have had the choices we had growing up? Like we were talking about impact tonight. There's a lot of folk, man, who have not been impacted by anything real. I mean, for instance, how many people dress like Allen Iverson dressed because the way that was the impact, but they never had a chance to talk to him, to to pick his brain. How many people were impacted by LeBron James? But you don't sit down and talk to LeBron James, so you all buying his stuff, but you're not emulating the business side of it, the community minded side of it. So I think impact is huge, man. I think this is why when you guys first approached me about above average black men, I was like, yo, that's a great concept.
Yeah. I mean, because the biggest thing we wanted to do with this show is address the image of black men. I feel like sometimes we under attack, and you kind of hear that we're not necessarily doing that well. Guys got kids out of wedlock, and for me, that's not the case. I mean, I have a large circle of friends that, they're doing exceedingly well. So, wanted to take the opportunity to kind of spotlight and highlight those men. Yeah. And also, on another note, like Devin kind of referenced this a while ago, related to our jobs, what people do for professions. Sometimes people get caught up chasing like the big name jobs that they see all the time, or the ones that bring you all the money. That's not necessarily going to yield you the most happiness. And there are so many things that you can do out here without being just kind of at this big surface level, a pro athlete, rapper. You can manage these people. They behind the scenes making a lot more money.
But this
or like you're a writer, like we had Marcus Hayes last. You can be a writer.
But this goes back to choices, and choices come when people present you with choices. And I'm not making excuses for anybody, but there are some people who don't realize they have choices. There are some people, because it's generational, their parents are not telling them they have choices. There are some people who don't. I was talking to somebody and they had never heard where your kids are supposed to have it better than you, that you're supposed to try to get your kids to have a better life than you had. They never heard that. And their concept was, well, maybe they can make it. Yeah, but if everybody did that, man, we'd be stuck. And then I thought about it, we are stuck in some of the same old things. But I mean, those simple principles are not being shared. So where do you go? For instance, a lot of times I'm in meetings and groups, and we'll be talking about character, why kids act a certain way. And some might say, well, we're not social workers, they should get it at home. Well, we found out 10, 15 years ago it's not happening at home. Mm-hmm. So at what point do you step up and say, okay, I have to step in and begin to make a different impact? Because it's not, I can keep saying it should be happening at home, but we know it's not happening.
Right.
So I think this is what excites me about the King, and I think what that's perfect, so makes you hit them with it, that I think we need to stop just becoming part of organizations and say I'm a part of an organization. Mm-hmm. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What am I, I'm huge on time, and I'm not wasting my time.
Right.
I don't want to just be a part of something where we just kind of hang out and feel, I do that with y'all. We go play golf.
Even with that, like, you probably know people who are doing a lot more by themselves. So, it's great to hear that it's a large group of guys that are getting together and mentoring each other and sharing things. But, also want to know what actionable things are we doing out here pass that on.
I just like it because it seems like there's an actual plan set to motion. A lot of times people are just talking just to talk, but they never set actual plan or never do anything. Yeah. This here sounds like there's something that
it's moving. They got chapters.
And that's what I want to see happen in Philly. I want Philly to be all those things we just talked about. I want it to be like mentoring. I want to do mentoring. Maybe pick a school. And we can start there, just doing some stuff. Maybe somebody comes and says, hey, I want to take a group of guys from my old school and do a career day. We can do stuff like that, like the Career Cafe, where we introduce people to jobs that typically they don't hear about. Yeah. That's what I want it to be about. I want it to be about a place where resources network. I want to be a place where we support each other. Like we support the radio station by coming in here and we do the podcast. We do it in our basement. We talk about it all the time. We're not able to do it, but we support the radio station by coming in here, man. Nobody's challenged us except finale, but we always said we would promote, a good, services. So there's a lot of things I want to do, and I think we can get a place where folk can come and network, like why can't we find somebody that sells shirts and we buy the shirts from them?
Yeah, like farming people together, like using each other to kind of make things happen. Again, that's why when I hear, you know, there's a network of diverse backgrounds of people, I get excited about that, you know, because you can make so many different things happen, you know, with people that have different skills and backgrounds. So can't wait till, you know, he dials in and we can start to really get into it.
My other thing is when I tell people, and you know, people are amazed when I say I'm doing this with my sons. That's the first response I get from guys, people.
I mean, that's because you left a tremendous impact.
But especially people my age always says, man, that's so great that you, but that should not be abnormal.
Facts.
You know what I mean? It shouldn't be abnormal. You know, there should be a lot of folk. There shouldn't be such a big surprise that I'm doing this with my son. You know what I mean? People are shocked. It's almost like y'all talk, y'all want to hang out together, y'all do stuff together. Like when I posted the pictures about us all taking golf lessons. People act like that's weird.
Yeah,
man.
we like the Cosbys.
Yeah, but that's impact. Impact is, and to me, when Donal get on me a little further. Yeah, impact is when, you know, to me, impact is defined as changing the course of something or somebody. Yo, what's up, bro?
Definitely need a better ring.
What's going on, King?
What's going on, man? We got you on here, man. I'm in here with my two boys, man. I got Chris Jr. and I got my son Devin, and they have some questions for you, my brother.
How you doing, Mr. Donal?
How you doing today?
What's going on, Kings? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Honored to be with y'all tonight, you know.
Yeah, happy to have you on, man. We were just kind of briefly talking about the King movement. Definitely excited. I've done some research here. My dad is excited to be starting a chapter here in Philadelphia and already trying to get me signed up. But certainly, I mean, I'm intrigued, man. I want to know kind of what does it take, or what steps do you take to be a part of this program, and also what's involved of it. I saw that there's some mentoring involved. I saw that you guys work with a different variety of age groups here. So just really intrigued to learn a little bit more as to, you know, what type of programs or mentoring do you offer with the King movement?
No, those are good questions. You know, King stands for knowledge, inspiration, and nurture through God. You know, we consider ourselves a movement because a movement makes change, right? And and impacts and causes waves, and which is what we aim to do. But we also consider ourselves a brotherhood. You know, where as men we can come into the space, hold each other accountable, sharpen each other, lean on each other, empower each other, laugh, cry with each other, provide them, because so many men don't have that, you know, and so we started the New York City chapter about 7 years ago. You know, in our first meetings, we went like three hours, you know, and what I saw was brothers was really famished, and really, because in the black community as men, a lot of times, you know, brothers don't have that space, and you know, it's in a barbershop, you know, it's a few talking spaces. So we created that space, and brothers was just hungry for it, and I've seen so much that the Lord has done through the lives of men, and I've been sharpened and I've you know, grown because of just being around brothers. And so, you know, how you become a part of it is really connect. You know, once you connect, you go to the website, come to an event, come to a prayer call, and, you know, I help brothers get plugged in to the movement. And especially if you're in a local chapter, you can go to the monthly meetings. Monthly chapters have weekly prayer calls. They have spaces where you can serve. They have spaces where you can fellowship. So serving entails, you know, reaching the community, whether through justice or through serving or through going to schools or going to jails. You know, we have about 16 chapters across the country, and they're doing these different things and impacting their community and helping men take ownership of their community, you know. And I see King as a restorative tool, really, because when a man is in his right space, taking his God-given authority, he changes everything, you know. And so And so what we try to do is bring like-minded men together. And so you connect, and then there's a process that you could be crowned. There's a whole process, man. I don't know if you want me to go through all of that.
I mean, like, it's so many things that I heard. I was just trying my hardest not to cut you off, or again, I'm excited to hear these things. I'm not sure if my brother had a question though before I start asking.
I actually, I had a 2-part question.
Okay.
First, I was just curious, what's your background or your story per se? And the second part of the question is, what's the background of the K.I.N.G movement? How did you come up with it? What was the inspiration or the driving force?
Yeah, so the background, my story, I am a young black man, born to my father. My family on my father's side, they're from New York. My mother's side from Cleveland, and I've always had a heart for justice, and just trying to make it. Just trying to live life unto the Lord, trying to do right by Him. I got saved at a very young age, and committed my life and started youth ministry at a young age. Shout outs to Mr. Mike and the RGC ministry, which is Revelation Generation Creation. So God has blessed me with some good people, man, and between my family and ministers and mentors in the faith, but it all came to kind of like light for me when one of my students, because I'm an educator and I've led programs in New York City. I've done multiple youth programs from middle school to young adults, helping them get their GED, helping them to go to college, get their OSHA, get certified. And so I ran career development programs. That was actually my first start as a director. And one of my students, January, about 7 years ago as well, was beaten badly by the police. And, they damaged his head. It caused nerve damage to his skull and caused nerve damage to his spine, which crippled the function of his right hand and his right foot. And so we're talking about a young, spry teenager, athletic teenager that now has to eat with his left hand, has to think about how to tie his shoes, for not even committing a crime or anything illegal. His life was permanently changed. And that was on my clock during lunchtime as a director, and I could not just be still and watch God move. I could not just pray. I could not just, a lot of cliche things that some churches may say. I had to learn what justice looks like, advocating for him in an oppressive system. An organization that wanted to just kind of like sweep it underneath the rug because, they didn't value him as a young black man, and also wasn't good for business to them. And so I had to advocate at that level, and that was around the time that Trayvon Martin was murdered, and the country was kind of in an uproar. The jury wasn't given yet, but that was the discussion. And so around that time, I was just I was in a whirlwind. The student that was beaten by the police, my student, that whole incident was in the local news. There was media in front of the YMCA. It was just a crazy situation. And, I was navigating it as a young 28-year-old, and, them threatening to take my job if I speak out. And so, at that time, King had a prayer breakfast for the Trayvon Martin incident right in Jersey. And so I drove out to Jersey. I said, I got to be there. And I connected with Chris Broussard. That's the president and founder of K.I.N.G. And at the time, he was getting a lot of heat for standing up for biblical marriage, between a man and a woman. And if anybody that knows, he is on ESPN. and he's known, I knew him as that light-skinned brother that loved LeBron James.
Right, I was going to say, you love LeBron, you love LeBron. That's all you
come on, you doing too much for LeBron. But at that time, I saw he was actually a strong Christian. And so he was the first person I seen coming through the door, gave me a pound and a hug. It was, it was all love. Everybody was down to earth. There was no Hollywood, no celebrity type stuff. I saw older brothers and young brothers from different fields, scholars, businessmen, doctors, construction brothers. It was just beautiful, man. And it was so encouraging and empowering. And Chris was like, hey, let's catch up, let's connect. And I thought he was trying to Hollywood me. I didn't think I would hear from him again. And he actually called me and invited me to some more things. But it really fueled me to go back to New York, back to Queens, because that's where I'm at. I'm in Queens. And to kind of it gave me fuel to handle the whirlwind that I was in. And I felt like there were brothers with me. And so, Chris eventually asked me to start a New York City chapter. I didn't know if I could do it, but I prayed about it. I thought I was going to tell him no because I had so much going on in New York. And but as I prayed, it took me about 2 weeks, and I noticed all these black men my age that I'm connected to through different circles, whether it's basketball because I played in college, or hip hop because I rap, or church, or business, or career. All these different circles, these men were isolated in their spaces, or they were one of the few black men in their churches, And God showed that to me clearly, and King became this platform to bring men together. And it was a beautiful thing, because most men, we went to a Hot 97 thing and witnessed years ago, I forgot. But a brother saw us moving, in the space, and he was like, yo, man, how many of y'all is there? And I'm like, well, it's just 12 of us, but we really got about 40 brothers. And he was like, what? And he was like, I was like, yeah, we're a brotherhood, man. He's like, I can only count on one hand how many men I could lean on, how many day ones, how many friends. And I realized that's the experience. I've been so used to King that it's been a couple years, but that's usually the experience of most men. They feel they can only rely on 1 or 2 men, and they don't have that feeling of community, of brotherhood,
and it's so true.
Brothers, of an army with them, and that's the natural feeling. That's what we're supposed to be, but the enemy wants to divide us and all these things, and we play into it, unfortunately. But so that disunity and that coming together and building in Christ, building in who we are as better men, husbands, fathers, leaders, and because a lot of men, they just feel alone. They feel alone.
That's so true, man. That's so true. And I love kind of hearing how you were inspired and called into action. Kind of after something happened, you were willing to kind of take a step up and put this chapter together within New York. And like you mentioned, the reference, a lot of us find ourselves in so many different circles. When I'm hearing you talk, I can see I'm a basketball player, I'm a writer, so it's that art perspective of me. And into so many other different things as well. But then at the end of the day, sometimes you feel like you're out there on an island. You can't relate or talk to certain people in certain fields or where you're at. So again, I'm excited to hear these things, man, and looking forward to being a part of the Philadelphia chapter. I was telling my dad here, I see he got a T-shirt. He didn't prep us. He didn't give us no T-shirt.
I'm sporting my King shirt, man.
You got it on.
Oh yeah, man. I got it on. I got it on, man. Like yo. I took the day off. I got to send you a shirt, one of our above average black men shirts. But I got a question.
Definitely.
I got a question for you now. I kind of let them have their space because I know a lot of these answers. But one of the questions that I always get is why. And actually that's why, because we talk. There's a lot of stuff going on where a lot of guys get together and just get together.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I says why. Why the King movement?
Yeah, there is a crisis. when we look at what's going on, like what we talked about with Trayvon Martin, a young man, 16, 17, killed because what? You know, a hoodie.
Somebody else's prejudice.
You know, I'm sorry, what you said?
I was just saying, yeah, due to somebody else's prejudice and ignorance.
Yeah, somebody else's prejudice, and when we come down to it, it's the image, you know, the lying image of that this society has said about us, that has done damage to us, and so we seek to tell the truth, you know, because manhood has been distorted in so many ways, and so king is empowerment. We're called king because we're a reminder of the royalty, right, that God has placed on us, that we're born with, right? A lot of times as black men, you know, I don't know if you were taught it, I was taught it, most black men were taught it, my mama taught me, you know, you gotta be above average to be considered average in this country, you know, so whatever you do, wherever you work at, you gotta go above and beyond just to be in there, just to be average, right? And so we have this chip, this reality that we're dealing with, when the truth is we were born valuable. You know, in this society, as slaves, we had to work to prove value, and they try to strip value from us. But in God, in Christ, we are born in that. That's our we are heirs to the throne. We are co-heirs to the throne. We're adopted in the royal family. And there's a lot of messages out there that are contradicting that, you know, from the white man and from the black man, right? And black people, the thing about white supremacy is it's not just white people that can catch it, it's black people can internalize it as well.
And don't even know.
And don't even know. Don't even know. You know, and so we want to tear down that lie. That's that, you know, Chris, I never forget, Chris said, you know, Chris Broussard, our president and founder, you know, he has a powerful story, which I encourage brothers to look up, but, you know, he started the King movement, and his brother was actually a Muslim, became a Muslim, and so they would have debates. They would have debates about the true God, and you know, they would go back and forth, and he said one day his brother just gave it to him like this. He's like, you know why I joined Islam, man? He said, I joined Islam because the men over here, to me, look like more of the men of the Bible that I see. Not, you know, the men in the church, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, they don't look like the men of the Bible to me, you know? So there's this caricature, you know, and men being feminized in the church, and men not even being there, right? And so when I talk about the crisis, the data shows that women are attending the church more than men. And that's not just black, but that's across all racial lines, right? But fatherlessness is an epidemic. They like to say it's just black men, but that's across the board as well.
Yes.
And you know, brothers are taking care of their business more than what society and media likes to say.
Right.
But, you know, there's these things, and I think the enemy knows if I get the enemy, I get the family. Because the data shows when men go to church, it's more likely for the family to go to church. And so we just saw this space needed for men to come together. We are not just for black men, we are for all men, but we don't apologize for serving and prioritizing the black man because he is underserved, right? And so when we say our mission statement to empower men to fulfill their God-given potential, it also is implied that our men are disempowered, you know, disempowered and oppressed and told that they are less than. And so we push against that narrative, and we empower men to take their God-given right. And the second part of that statement is to fulfill their God-given potential in every realm of life through Jesus Christ. And so manhood has been distorted, in a crazy way, and so we see Jesus Christ as the ultimate man and the blueprint of manhood. And I've been given some false things about manhood, even though, you know, I subscribe to my parents and appreciate how they raised me, but I think there's some distortions in manhood, and we got to go back to, well, what was Jesus's thing, you know, because our society tells us, hey, real men don't cry. Well, we see Jesus wept in the Bible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Jesus showed his emotion a couple times, you know, in the garden, you know, different places. Jesus respected and loved women appropriately, kept boundaries. Jesus flipped the tables over in the sanctuary, so he wasn't just a passive man, but he was controlled. He didn't hit nobody. You know, he didn't hit nobody while he was flipping over tables. And so we see this controlled, measured man in power and humility, the Son of God. And so we just try to take our cues from that. And that's why we do it. And we hope to be a movement as different from an organization. A movement is, it catches the heart pulse of society, of the community, and has waves of change. And so that's why.
And with the K.I.N.G movement, I was just curious what type of different programs or workshops or networking opportunities are involved.
That's a great question. So we have every chapter. We have 16 chapters and growing. One coming in Philly. Praise God. The chapters vary based on, you know, the leadership there. And so, but, you know, the thing I love about K.I.N.G is that, you know, our services have ran the gambit, you know, that I believe. And so we have mentorship, brothers going into schools from middle school to high school, brothers, you know, mentoring young kings outside of high school. You know, we really want our young brothers to see that they are kings, and that they're not just, you know, athletes, and that they're not just entertainers, but they are more than that. You know, they are also scholars, innovators. That's another thing I got to talk about. But I'm going to get to, you know, the whitewashing of the Bible. But mentorship is one thing. We got brothers and chapters that go into jails and detention centers and prisons and give life and speak life to brothers and just try to journey with them. We have brothers that are giving away backpacks and giving haircuts in Nashville. We have brothers that are doing, you know, coaching basketball. Here we have brothers going to shelters. That's some things that we've done in New York City. We went to a men's shelter, and man, it was just so. We saw so many men broken. You know, so many men just living in shame and guilt of their past and regretting their relationship, their disconnected relationship with their sons. And we were able to pray with them, able to talk life and speak life in them, and it's just a beautiful thing, man. And so, you know, we try to find ourselves in the spaces where there is need, and we also do justice. You know, the New York City chapter, we combined with about 30 other churches and led a protest, you know, for George Floyd, and spoke out against injustices, and because we believe that's part of serving as well. And so those are just a few of the things that we've done and have got going on.
That's awesome. So kind of, I guess my last question here for you, regarding joining the K.I.N.G movement and being a part of that, I do, again, love hearing that it's for a wide range of men, and young men. We certainly need that. But I guess, how do you get a part of that? Do you need to necessarily be in the church or part of a church if you want to get involved? I feel like there's a lot that people can take from this, regardless of if they feel as though they're religious or not. But again, just wanted to kind of hear from you. is that something that's kind of required for anyone that wants to or has an interest?
That's a good question. So to be a part of King, that's another thing why we call ourselves a movement, because we're not rigid in terms of our affiliation towards connecting. We're not rigid about those things, and so we want brothers that may not be saved to come break bread with us, chill with us, join our activities and so forth, and be a part of us and learn and do what we do. So there's space for that. But also, for brothers that want to be crowned and take the front lines, and have given their life to Christ, we do have a space for them, because we want Christian brothers to take the lead in this movement, to be a light, to know His Word, to be able to stand on His Word, because, that's how we make true impact. I know that's the theme of tonight, impact, right?
Yes,
and anybody can make impact. It can be negative or positive, and anybody can make good impact. But godly impact is the long-lasting impact, right? And so it is our heart that men come to Christ, men be in Christ, and so we're here to journey with brothers in that space, So, we have these things in place for brothers to help hold brothers accountable and sharpen each other, and to lead. But, it's for everybody. I'm the National Director of Development, and I coach chapters and our leaders, and, usually I coach them, hey, we have monthly meetings, and, we usually do that in a space. Because of the pandemic, some of them went Zoom, but now that we're coming out a little bit, but I would tell them, hey man, I would suggest and encourage you to meet outside of the church, for chapters. Because a lot of times men are not coming to the churches. So if men are not coming to the churches, why are we meeting in the churches? Find a neutral space where men can connect, and let that be a funnel and a bridge to the church. Because certain men are dealing with church hurt. They're dealing with not feeling like that space is for them. Because in some ways the church has been feminized. In some ways they have not created space for men to feel, to feel utilized or feel like
they're not addressing our issues and concerns, or things that help us develop as men. It's about prosperity, or like you said, almost in some cases, feminizing the message. So.
Yeah, and just having space for men to lead and speak. Sometimes in churches there's only one man speaking out. And that's not how God created. And so that's what I love about King, is that we're not vertical, in sense of leadership. Though we have a president, founder, we have executive director, we have me, but we really believe in horizontal leadership where everybody has a voice, and everybody can take part, everybody can lead. You know what I'm saying? You see our national prayer goals on Thursday. Brother Keith is leading. He doesn't have a high. He's not one of the highest. He is a leader in King, but there are leaders leading in different spaces of King, and sometimes in our spaces, I grew up in Kojic, and you got to go through your marathon rites of passage, you know what I mean? just to usher, you know what I mean? So it's like, so we just try to provide spaces for men to feel like their gifts are valued, their skills are valued. Hey, you love health, you can bring that here. You love business, you can bring that here. You love, sports, you can bring that here, and find a space where you can lead and help brothers grow.
That's important.
As long as you're empowering men to fulfill their God-given potential in Jesus Christ, and you're good. You know what I mean? So that's something we encourage, and that's a motto for us.
I got two quick questions. One, we got to get Chris on here. You got to get Chris on here, man.
Yeah, yes sir.
Call him, man, so he can tell his story and folk can hear from him. We had Marcus Hayes on here last week. He's a local sports writer.
Okay.
So
I've heard of him.
yeah, so we definitely got to get Chris on here, man. So I'm leaving up to you to set that up, man. Have him give me a call, man, so we can get him scheduled for Wednesday soon, because this is a launching pad. I really wanted you on because I want people to hear about King. I've answered the questions that you said, but I want people need to hear that publicly for those who still have questions. So my last question is, and this is the number one question I get, I even saw looks on my son's face when you said it. Can you give a brief explanation about the crowning ceremony?
Sounds dope.
That's the big thing, because
crowned.
it's funny because right. I find myself, I don't want to use the word debating, but having a discussion with Christians, because they get it confused. You know, they think you're getting the real crown, you're going to be the king, and I try to explain to them, no. Yeah, and I try to explain to them the biblical references that we refer to as king. So it's funny how deep we get. Yeah. You know, and I asked them because these same brothers joined the Masons. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute, but you're in the Masons. Yeah, but you're in the Masons. Well, you pledged. You know, and so it's interesting. But if you can just give like a little brief explanation about the crowning ceremony.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, like you said, part of the reason for King, I just want to kind of talk on what you just said about brothers joining Masons or, you know, black men. We do see black men kind of defecting from the faith per se, or from Christianity, right? And getting into other spaces because Christianity, there's this false narrative out there that people are saying Christianity is the white man's religion. It's the oppressor's religion. Why would you go over there? Why would you do that? You know? And so one major thing about King is that we are about tearing down that narrative. We understand clearly, and we say very clearly, Jesus was not white. You know, the Bible was full of more of people that look like us than actually Europeans. And that's not to say we're better than, right? But that's just to say that the whitewashing of Christianity is a lie. You know, they made Moses white. They made all these characters in the Bible white in Hollywood and things like that. And so, you know, brothers can feel like, oh man, where's my space in this Christian thing? Because it's been so whitewashed. And so we have done debates live with Kemet Priest. You know, we go on YouTube, Urban Apologetics, every annual summit, that's what we do. And so men can see, hey, there's a space, there's an African presence. You know, one of our, Brother Chris knows that one of our founding scriptures is Psalm 68:31. You know, princes shall come out of Egypt, Ethiopia shall stretch forth their hands unto God. Right, there's an African presence in the Bible. Many people don't even know Mark wrote. Mark was African. He was from Cyrene. That's modern day Libya. You know, and a lot of times brothers are not told that truth. So that's one thing that we really try to help our brothers to see. And so, in terms of the crowning process, yeah, we go by 1 Peter 2:9, but you're a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, right? That you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. A royal priesthood, right? If God is the king and we are his sons, guess what that makes us? We're royalty, right? And so we just use the crowning language is symbolic, you know, that a symbolic reminder of your royalty in God, you know, and again, I'm gonna say it again, you know, black men in this country have historically been devalued. And the imago Dei, the image of God, people have tried to strip from us. And so we are a strong reminder that that is not the case. And so the crowning process ceremony, really, we came up with that name as just kind of like, yeah, we're king, you know, to join us. You just go through this process, which is basically like a rites of passage or a test. You understand what our scriptures are. You understand what our mission statement is and what our colors are, you know, what we're about. You know, anything that you join, you should want to know what they're about. And we have built, Chris and his great leadership and vision has built King on God's word. And we are non-denominational. And so we believe that's a great opportunity for us to help liberty and help connection where churches may be limited. You know, the New York City chapter is representative of about 13 or 14 churches. You know, and we've connected, you know, brothers in the Bronx, you know, have connected to brothers' churches out in Queens and vice versa. And we'll go to this church and we'll go to that church and kind of join together. And before we knew it, we were bringing together pastors, you know, so it's a beautiful thing. And so the crowning process is just, hey, if you say, hey, I like what King is doing, I love what your brother's doing, I'm about it, I'm like-minded, then basically we say, join us. You know, roll your sleeves up, get on the front line with us. And you go through this, you take this small little brief test. We give you the answers to the test. There's no trick questions. It's our scriptures, it's our mission statement, it's our colors. It's as simple as that, plain and clear. You know, we give you the answers right off back. We just want to see, we want it to resonate with you. And then after that, we have what's called the crowning ceremony, and that's where we celebrate you. That's where we make a public declaration of our choice to journey together as men of God, under this banner King. And it's a beautiful thing. This year, Brother Penderson got crowned, and then you know we had about 20 plus crowns this year from brothers all across the nation that joined. Last year we had 50 crowns from brothers all across the nation. And so it's a pretty simple process, you know, but we create structure because we know that's something that men need. That's something that men gravitate towards, structure. I've been in education for a while, you know, and I coach a little bit, you know, and the difference between a bad coach and a good coach is structure and planning. You know, and men need that. You know, men need that, and they appreciate that structure to help them strive for better. And so we try to create some structure so you just know, hey, we're not just here, you know, gallivanting around. There's a structure here to grow and build from. And then you go create your structure. You go create, you know, space in your city to build men, to empower men to be better husbands, fathers, and leaders in their space. And then watch what the Lord does. You know, the Bible says one can chase 1,000, 2, 10,000. I mean, come on. Like, when we all get on the same page, it's not, we move the needle. We move the needle.
All right, man. We want to thank you for being a part of this, man. And yo, you got to get Chris on, man.
Nah, we would love to connect with you again.
And some of those other
like
brothers, too. There's some other powerful brothers, man. Like I said, it'd be pretty cool to get, you know, to try to get one on a month, man. But we got to get Chris on, man. I got to get Chris on, man.
Definitely. Hey, Chris loves things like this, man. So I don't think that's a hard ask.
And it sounds like a lot of what we do is in line, man. So again, I'm excited, and you might be seeing and hearing from me soon.
Yeah, I love
yes, sir. We excited. King is excited about coming to Philly.
Yeah.
I love Philly. I lived in Camden for a couple months and used to frequent Philly a little bit. So I know that Philly is ready for something like King. It's going to be powerful.
Most definitely.
We're ready to go, man. And now it's going to be even better because I got my 2 sons, man.
Yes, sir.
So definitely, man. So the ball's in your court, man. You hook me up with Chris, man. Let's get this thing rolling. I'll let you know. We need to figure out how we can touch base next week so we can get rolling the next steps. So I can tell you what we got planned. All right, bro?
All right, man. Sounds good to me, my brother.
So shoot me some times, man. And thanks again, man. And, you know, spread the word, man. The King got to check us out on Wednesdays, man. We're every Wednesday, 7 o'clock, man. Big Spiritual Get Radio.
Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Above Average Black Men.
That's right. And I'm going to send you a clip of this, too, man. All right?
All right. Sounds good, man. So love.
Talk to you later, man. Please shoot me some dates and times for next week, all right?
All right, cool. Strong in the Lord.
Got you, man. Stay strong, bro. I got it on my wrist right now, man. All right. All right, talk to you.
All right, peace.
Yeah, he is sharp brother, man. His story is he was at a one of the rallies you were talking about, and he asked some Caucasian people, like, why are you here? You know, not in a bad way, but they couldn't really explain why they were here. So in his own church, they put him in a position to teach them about social justice and to teach them about, he goes to a multicultural church, and you know, that's the way the church functions. You know, and
you gotta be willing to have them tough conversations, man.
Well, what you said earlier, deal with some relevant stuff, and it's funny because his conversation segues into what you always want to talk about, you know, men being demasculated.
It's just masculinity in general, man.
Glove,
yeah, had to take a deep breath there.
Mm-hmm.
But nah, it's funny. Like when he joined, I don't know if he was listening to us before he joined, but it was funny. A lot of the things that we were saying previously kind of lined up with what the King movement is about, and just how Black men are feeling out here. Like we are looking for something to be a part of. Sometimes we need some guidance, and I do feel like it's nice to have the King movement as somebody out here that is a movement, like bringing people together of diverse backgrounds.
I just like it because it sounds like we're taking our image back instead of being told that Black men are trash. We're changing that narrative.
But that's where and I kind of get into debates about the crowning ceremony, because to me it's no different when you take a new members class at a church. They require you to do certain things, and but this simply means you're understanding what you're joining. Mm-hmm. This simply means that you're making a commitment to what you're becoming a part of. Because I'm like, look, we talked about earlier. I did some of the stuff I just wasn't going to do.
You had to sign nothing in blood or nothing.
No,
like that.
basically he talked about they give you scriptures, and and they give you the answers. It's not. I mean, they literally give you the answers. And you have to, basically you say the scriptures in your own words. So you can't be wrong unless you start talking about something crazy.
I mean, you did have me playing the basketball game.
Yeah,
for the game.
And he talk about what it is to be a part of King. And to me, the most impressive part about it was when we had the crowning ceremony, and this was virtually. It was like 50 brothers on there, man, just watching these other 20 brothers, be a part of it, man. And they were all affirming, man. They were all saying, and then Chris and I had a conversation afterwards, like, he's known me for 10 years. Hey, I heard about you, man. And you talking to this dude. I'm like, it's the same conversation we had about Marcus and Zaire. Mm-hmm. That he's just a down to earth dude. This ain't the dude that's just sitting there. I'm Chris. No,
and I think that's important.
I was really impressed by that.
And I think I love to hear that, because we're all human. Some of us are more fortunate than others, where they got fame, money, or whatever.
Let's call him Chris.
So it's just like easy, it makes me feel at ease to know that you still got people out here are human beings, down to earth, like not letting what they have get to them.
But that's the power of it.
That's impact.
But when you know who you are, you can have a greater impact than when you got to tell people who you are. Mm-hmm. Because when you know who you are, it comes out in the way you treat people. It comes out in the way you respond to stuff, the things that you do. I never told you guys to do anything as far as what you're doing now. You made choices. Mm-hmm. And I made choices based on the way I was raised. I made choices based on what I was exposed to. And I think that's impact. And I think we forget the power of impact. And I say this all the time. I think you guys and, Nicole, you guys represent more of what I've done than what I've said. Mm-hmm. And the same thing when I look at my dad, man. I remember a lot of stuff he said, but I remember a lot of stuff he did that was more powerful.
That's true.
And I think that's impact. I think when I hear impact, I think of something that changes the course. When you impact the basketball game, you change the course of the game. Mm-hmm. When you impact somebody's life, and Donal talked about it negatively or positively, you change the course of it. You can, they can get back, but a lot of times you change the course of somebody's life. And I think we forget the power of impact. And one thing I like about the King movement is it's about impact. It's not about becoming a part of an organization, just say, I go to the biggest church, I go to the biggest thing. It's about being involved. That's one of the things I like about Enon. I don't go to Enon, so let me make that clear. Mm-hmm. But I do like that about Enon is they're having an impact. Mm-hmm. Because they're doing stuff. They're doing football.
You always see them out there doing something.
They're doing stuff to reach people. They're just not holding church. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of churches become a place, and we major in holding churches and we minor in reaching people. Mm-hmm. And I think to me, the King movement represents an opportunity for all those brothers who really need to be engaged, who really need to get back to with a solid foundation, of knowing who Christ is. You're not weak. You're not a punk. You don't have to walk around with a cross tattooed on your head. You can be different. And I think that the King, when I'm on the screen watching these, I'm in with doctors, lawyers, these professionals, some of these power people, man.
I think it provides an umbrella for all of these people, like we keep saying, of diverse backgrounds. Like, even when you think about the church, man, it's like almost a competition sometimes. Like, which one of these do I go to? But King, we get,
but listen to what he said. More than one voice. Mm-hmm. It's not just the pastor or the guy.
Right. The church is almost like competing for people to just be a part of their congregation versus just competing to make people better individuals. And it sounds like, again, I'm happy to hear that they have chapters all over the place. 16 chapters, and hopefully, you know, they're looking to continue to expand and grow on that, and can bring that together and create, you know, just something positive in our community, in our space.
Yeah, like, I want to know more because I'm interested.
Yeah, like I definitely want to talk to him again. I feel like an hour wasn't enough.
I got all this
We're about
stuff.
to get out
Yeah,
of here,
but,
right?
yeah, but what I'm, cause, and for me, because my biggest dilemma was, I'm doing this stuff. I'm running fatherhood programs. I'm running mentor programs. You know,
But you got a backing now. You know?
No, but everybody was saying, well, why we need them? Because you're already doing it. Why we need it? And to me, I think it truly takes a whole village. You know, to raise you know, a child. And the other thing I like about it is it's a movement. You know, a movement is something that's about momentum. You know what I mean? A movement is like a whole bunch of things going. This, you know, like a wave comes, you know, a wave comes and it starts to pound on something.
I mean, you're just an individual that brings special skills to something that's bigger and greater to make something even better happen. That's
and we got to get out of that mindset that I'm doing this, and it has to become we.
Yeah.
So that was my whole thing, and so I got all the information you need, man. I know you need to hear from him, you know, because I think it's always good to hear it from somebody else closer to the source. But we definitely gonna have him back. I'm gonna work on getting Chris Broussard on here. You know, definitely be a calling.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we're gonna do.
Where you let's fly out to LA?
We're gonna do an official. No, we're gonna do an official launch here, and part of the official launch is we're gonna do something at the Discovery Center. And I'm gonna see if I can get them here. I'm gonna see if I can get some guys that actually come to Philly.
That'd be love.
To be a part
Maybe
of
some
it.
heads of chapters or
to
something like
to
that.
be a part of that launch. But I want to highlight one each month. I want to get at least one a month from around the country. All those brothers you're talking about that's going to prison, that's doing
I mean,
something
that'd be
in prison.
dope.
Yeah.
Like, again,
That's the goal, man.
above average black
Yeah,
man.
so I'm
Like,
gonna follow
you
up,
wanna
man.
highlight-
And I'm back in uniform next week. I just
Yeah,
said
that's
this
what
is
I
brand new. I just literally took it out the plastic, man. So you know.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Sacramento Kings at
You
first.
definitely
Nah,
ironed
talk
it,
about
right?
that.
Nah, of course I ironed it. Do I have more to iron it? But we also want to say that our new time is 7 to 8. We're gonna be running a little over tonight. Well, not really 7:58. Our new time is gonna be from 7 to 8, right?
Yeah.
So next Wednesday. So don't miss it. You can't be tuning in like 8:30 and think we're gonna be here because we're gonna get home.
Right.
But above average black men supporters, look for us on YouTube Live, look for us on Instagram, look for us on Facebook. Like us. Just don't, look for us.
Subscribe.
Like, subscribe, man. Because
share,
our goal is
share.
to get to 1,500.
Share.
Spread the word.
1,500, and you heard it. And this is a very diverse show. We had Marcus Hayes last week. Before
Jeff
him,
Jones.
we had Jeff Jones,
Don Curry.
local guy. We had Don Curry, local guy. We just got Donal. He's in Brooklyn, New York.
You got a comedian coming next
Yeah,
week.
man.
Mike Jones.
So we got. I didn't know. We got a comedian. So we got.
Mike Jones.
Yeah. So we covered some ground here, man. And I got people that want to be on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I got people who be on the show,
same.
man. So I got a young man who 11th grade, got a full ride to soccer to Ivy League school, who wants to come on the show, man. He's so good, African American brother. They don't allow him to play in high school. He's that good. So he
Sound
plays
like Freddie Adu.
Yes, he plays with a traveling team. He's played down in Disney and the stadium and stuff and the cup and stuff.
That's
yeah.
love. I can't wait to have him on.
But
Are we
he
giving
taught.
closing remarks?
Yeah, but he taught. He came out and taught my kids in Camden. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so let's do around closing remarks, man.
Closing remarks. Just always strive to leave an impact. Always try to get better. Just grow, learn, love, live, laugh. That's all I can say.
You're such a happy-go-lucky guy. You just keep everything simple. For me, we talked about impact, but I think I specifically want to focus. I think you and I talked about this a little bit. Legacy. That's also embodied or within impact. So think about the type of legacy that you want to leave. Like, what are you doing every day when it comes to leaving your legacy? It's not monetary. Your legacy is how people felt or thought about you when it's all said and done at the end of the day. So every day, think about, are you doing what's in line to leaving the type of legacy that you want to leave and having the type of impact that you want to have day in and day out? Right? So that's all I got to say. Think about that.
Yeah, and my thing is, that was Donal from the King Movement. If you're interested, you need to just Google the King Movement, get more information. If you're interested in becoming a part of the Philly chapter, you can hit me up at 484-750-2760. 484-750-2760. Again, that's 484-750-2760. And that's
not your phone number.
That's the FamCom. That's coming to
Okay.
the office. You better hit FamCom. You better hit the office, man, and just hit it up, man. If nobody picks up, I'll get right back to you for more information about the King Movement or just being a guest on our show. You know, if you're worthy of being a guest, what I mean worthy is, man, you're doing something, you know, to make a difference. You're doing something that has impact.
Or how about this? Hit up the Instagram if you want to be a guest on the show.
There you go.
Above average black man, above average BM for above average black man. I have to make that distinction.
Just say above average BM.
This is a technique. But again, my closing remarks is this, man. I always say this: either you rise to the occasion or shrink to your circumstances. I think, to me, choosing to rise is choosing to have an impact. I think choosing to rise is just, regardless of what's happening around you, regardless of what's happening in the world, says, I'm going to make a positive difference, man. I'm going to make a difference. And it doesn't have to be a cinder block into a puddle. It can be a rock in a pond. But you just need to make a decision that I'm going to make a difference. So again, guys, we will see you next week, 7 o'clock. Same bat channel, same bat time, spiritualconnectradio.com. We check you out on YouTube Live, check us out on Instagram and on Facebook. Just don't like us, subscribe, and follow us. All right?
Be safe out here.
Be safe.